Yeah, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
It's Monday morning. Oh, by the way, I was told, make sure that we all know, don't bang on this because it goes to the microphones. It's horrible. Anyway, good morning, everybody. I should have done that on camera. God, it was a long weekend. It felt like the weekend would not end.
So what made it feel so long?
Yeah.
I worked every day. And I'm not bitching and complaining. I love my work. I love what I do. And actually, I am the head engineer for the Rowdies, the TV engineer. I'm the one that makes if something breaks, I have to fix it. Whew, it's been a lot of
I saw your
fixing.
post on Saturday. I replied to you. I thought I'd give you at least that little bit of company.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Was a lot of stuff breaking, John?
Here lately, I think it's equipment hits that threshold of I'm tired and I don't want to work anymore, and so I don't think I'm going to work anymore, and I'm just going to. And dude, like 2 weeks ago, I took 3 older cameras, put them together to make one working camera. So it's end of the season. Friday night was they won Friday night, so we have a game this Saturday night, and if they win, we may have a game the following Saturday. The more they win, the more they keep going. But they're playing like champs, man. I love them, absolutely. It's cool.
I haven't caught a game yet, so I need to do that.
And I don't know anything about soccer.
No?
Nope. I couldn't tell you what a halfback, fullback, defensive guy, lineman, whatever. I don't know. I know the goalie. And our goalie, we have 2 phenomenal goalies. So I'm not here to talk soccer, but anyway, and then yesterday I worked as well. So I'm tired today. As a matter of fact, as soon as the show's over, I'm going home.
John's going back to bed.
I won't go to bed, but I got stuff to do. I got stuff in my own house that I didn't get done this weekend, and I need to get done. So anyway, I teched all weekend. Did you tech with this weekend?
I did on Saturday, not on Sunday.
You took the Lord's Day off to not tech.
I definitely did not tech. So I think it's good for all of us to have a day off from what we do all the time. Every now and then, just to clear your head a little bit.
That's our goal. I know Adam over there, he lives in tech, though, so I don't know how you even cannot not tech.
Well, yeah, you can't not tech, but yeah, this weekend I didn't tech.
Here's my favorite tech on the weekends.
TV remotes, click, click.
That's my favorite tech. If I can do, I don't get to do it that much. Or my best tech is doing this.
Technically watching TV for you is like work because you're probably scrutinizing everything that's happening anyways. And so
as one of the guys, all the guys that work for the Rowdies television, they all have other jobs, and they work with some big, and one of them works for a very predominant local news station here in town. And I ask him this one thing every time. I said, do the new guys not know how to white balance a camera?
No.
I'm like, he goes, sometimes they zoom in, flash, and zoom back out, and they think they've white balanced because I'm like, that's not white balancing. He goes, yeah, I know. You're telling, and then they fight with it all the time. So anyway.
Yeah, you remember the days of having to do that with your camera. If you had an SLR camera, you had to do all that stuff, and now everything's so automated. I think we just get away from all those, I guess they're also skills in a way, because you have to know how to.
You have to know how to, right? And a lot of it. And here's the sad thing, and I'm not trying to be. I love all of every. If you're out there and you're hustling in this world, man, God bless you, because it is a hustle. But sometimes we forget the basics.
Yeah,
and that's kind of a big deal, and they, the white balance, and just white balancing is, and focusing. Oh my God. I watch it go, are you seeing this, right?
Well, you know what? Remember, the newer generation that comes up is not brought up to understand that or even recognize that it has to be done. Mm-hmm. And I think that's in all fields of all different, aspects of, work. The newer generation doesn't know some of the old skills only because those skills are, kind of like left behind. Everything's like trying to become automated.
Right.
And these manufacturers are like, oh, it can do this by itself.
Okay, so pull that mic over, because I'm already getting you don't go to it. You pull that mic to you.
Come to me.
And you're right. They've gotten so used to, and we're going to talk about talk about this as well, is we're going to talk about the iPhones, right? The new iPhones, right?
Right.
That's going to be a piece. But you're right. They have gotten so used to everything being automated. Like a lot of the cameras will do it for, like in this studio right here, before we get started, every set we go on to, even though the light's pretty much the same, we re-white balance every single time. And we back focus every single time. And we set the blacks every single time. You just got to. It's just one of those things. But anyway, so yeah. Ultimately, if I go no tech, it's because I'm sitting in a campground somewhere and I'm watching a fire.
And you don't even have one of these.
No, it
right?
stays. No, my phone
Because
stays inside the RV. Yeah.
Because how can you say you're not doing tech? And I guess I was on Sunday. I had my phone with me. So
You watching TikTok?
No, I don't. I don't do TikTok just because of who's behind it.
Yeah, they've all got your information already. You have a phone. They've already got all your crap.
Oh, I know. Anybody that has a smartphone, that's true. I just don't want to give them any more.
True.
And I don't want to support them because watching is supporting. So.
Well, the first thing we're going to talk about today is the U.S. Department of Defense embracing electric vehicles using the GM Ultium platform. And I'm actually kind of scared, to be completely honest, because, if you have a range, and we talked about this last week of this young guy that tried to pull a trailer, and next thing you know, his beautiful truck wound up only getting a third of what it's supposed to because it's pulling. The military vehicles can't be any better.
Yeah, that was my thought exactly. And the Air Force is trying to one-up the Army by having all of their zero emission gains done by 2046, whereas the Army's saying 2050.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes, does that mean they're going to do electric jets too? And, if they get in a dogfight and they run out of juice, what happens?
Right.
Of course, they lose. So.
Or are the electric vehicles that they're going to use, are they going to have an onboard generator that's constantly? Because to me, I understand there is a guy on social media that is building the big ass logging truck, and he's using electric motors because of the torque value, and I get that part of it, right? But you're still running a motor. You're still running something to run the batteries plus the electrical system.
Right, and to charge them and all that other thing. So there's going to have to be some major changes in tech all over the place. There's going to have to be a move away from the engine or any kind of combustible engine to do that.
Well, it says also that GM's defense business unit,
Right.
The government asked them to focus and develop a battery pack that can be used for functional electrical military vehicles. And I guess the battery pack comes in kind of like modules.
Mm-hmm.
So think of it as modules of small square modules.
So
where you can plug it right in.
Is it because? So this is the question. Because of the military, will we be pushed to make better batteries faster?
I would assume yes.
I mean, it's great.
It's
that,
going to have to
Elon
happen.
And all these guys are working on batteries, and we get it all right. But will this push the development quicker?
I believe it has to, because until there's a need, and somebody says, I need to have better range. I need, we're buying electric vehicles that can go maximum 400 miles on a charge, $300 to $400.
There's one maker in Europe that's getting $550 out of their battery.
But think about, and the battery technology, we should be able to, as a matter of fact, I was reading an article too on battery technology that is going to be able to charge in seconds.
Yeah, graphene is one of them.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
But the problem with that, which, we're all in the electronic world here, if it's going to charge fast, it's probably going to drain fast.
Not necessarily, because the heat is the big factor in the charging and discharging of batteries, and using I believe it was graphene.
Yeah, and having a better conductor, and that's what some of the promise was of graphene. And there's still a lot of development that needs to happen, but battery technology is one of the things that has been on a really steep increase in the high tech area. as far as development goes. So we're going to probably see a whole lot of change there, and it's going to have to, because that's the only way it's going to really work for a military application, I would say, because with the modules, the other thing we have to worry about are they going to have the same problem as we saw here in Florida just recently with Ian and all the Teslas catching fire and things like that. I would imagine the military's done something to fix that problem, but that's always going to be a possibility with. And then again, we still have to think back, how are they charging those batteries? So we're still back to a fossil fuel most likely.
Right.
Yeah. Charging them, is definitely going to be a, well, look what's happening in California, for instance. Over the summertime, where they said that, don't charge your Tesla because we're experiencing a huge draw on our power grid.
Right.
That's kind of like kind of really weird, huh? So, it is what it is.
Go electric, but you can't drive anywhere this week.
And you can't charge either. So.
Don't charge because you can't go anywhere. And so that they're literally building, in my opinion, that is forcing people to work from home.
Well, companies are bringing people back too.
Yeah, I know, but if you can't get to work, you can't get to work. And so what are you going to do? Oh, you can work from home. So we're going to be, so then the metaverse would become an even bigger, badder thing, So, we're gonna build a company in the metaverse. You're gonna work in the metaverse, and
hey, why not? They got virtual kitchens on DoorDash.
and Morgan & Morgan is now in the metaverse.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Have
you guys seen how you can buy real estate on the?
Yeah.
That's all.
Did you have a slip and fall accident in the metaverse? Did you fall and bust your head on your couch?
Did you get harassed?
Your avatar's head.
Yeah. Right.
Is your avatar's head dislodged from your body? We can help.
Yeah. So, anyway.
So I think this will probably accelerate battery technology.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the one thing that really could use the most improvement, and it's going to be the one thing that's really going to turn things around.
Space technology usage and also military usage is what usually ends up advancing.
Our tax dollars go to fund a lot of that.
Right.
And, it's always the air side of things. That was Navy. The air side of the Navy always got the most money.
Yeah.
And the Air Force is definitely the branch that gets the most money. And,
of course.
Well, not Air Force. The
Space
Force now is getting.
Jeez.
So, to me, the Space Force and Air Force, those guys should just be one big monster. So.
Yeah. Maybe when we have more space.
John, because we have.
I was going to say more space room. We have lots of room out there.
Yeah. So anyway, but speaking of electric, this is quite interesting. If I can get the article to come up, Nicola Court founder Trevor Milton was convicted for fraud and misleading investors in the electric truck company. They just called him a door-to-door salesman.
Wasn't he?
Got hit on security fraud and 2 counts of wire fraud by a federal jury in Manhattan.
Yes.
Wasn't that the one where they made the truck or something, and then they come to find out it was just a rolling chassis that was rolling down a hill?
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's quite. But the problem is he got a bunch of celebrities to back him.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar, right? The woman that had the test all your blood like near instantly. I can't remember her name though.
Oh.
She had a big nothing also, and ended up getting in a lot of trouble. So I imagine that's probably what fueled the quick response on this because of the crackdown on corporate fraud.
The Assistant U.S. Attorney Jordan Estes told the jury in closing statements that his lies may have been on social media, but make no sense, it was just an old-fashioned fraud.
Yeah.
So, hey, I'm going to make this. Give me some money. You're all going to be rich.
No.
Oh, by the way, it doesn't work.
You know what would be more fun is if they would have had like a whole bunch of guys like on the inside of the chassis running like the Flintstones.
Oh my God!
And moving this thing around, dude, that would have been so killer.
Fred Flintstone movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like. Yeah, or squirrels. Put some squirrels.
I still think those guys online that are building the Edison motors, those guys, I mean, those are some real engineers that are really building out something. So
yes, they are.
And it's pretty cool. I mean, even though that's an old truck and stuff, but they're building proof of concept and making it work.
Right.
To say, look, we can do this with the current technology we have. without having to go from ground up
Right.
to remake everything. Why don't we just use what we already have? And it's a great idea. So, I mean, the guys are making it, and it's happening. You know, I mean, look at everything that we have that's large. It moves a lot of equipment
Right.
in the same, you know, using a diesel generator.
You know, so and I know Anthony, he was on here always, and we always, you know, everybody's like, oh, you can't do that. I just can't understand why we cannot make an electric car that charges itself while rolling.
Well, the thing is, with this
It
diesel,
doesn't make any sense why we can't do that.
they're using a Cummins diesel generator,
Right.
huge generator.
Oh, I know, I
So
get that part.
Yeah, and it only runs at 1,500 to 2,000 RPM and generates enough power to run the motors, charge the batteries, and keep the inside of the cab running.
Right.
I mean, think about that. You know, and it's barely any load. The thing doesn't have to, you know, do anything else except for just keep the batteries going.
Right. It's not like, you know, it never takes a load to go, so it'll be a constant burn.
Yeah.
But see, my point is all these electric cars, they have wheels. The wheels have got to turn. So why can't we make that where it's a secondary system?
Wasn't that the Volt was doing that?
No.
Well,
The Volt was hybrid.
Was hybrid,
With
yes,
gas,
but I
yeah, it
believe
has a
after the
gas
batteries
engine in it,
depleted, then the engine would start up and then run.
Well, here's something that it runs after the engine turns on after 30 miles an hour. So you got your electric under 30, I think is what it is, and then after 30 it turns itself on to regen.
But the motor, the wheels are still powered by the batteries.
The batteries.
And
Right.
see,
I mean, the wheels
I think that's
electric.
where the technology is probably going to continue to stay as some type of hybrid. It doesn't have to be a gasoline engine. I mean, look at the hydrogen
Yeah.
technology that's out there now. The guy that originally developed the first hydrogen-based car is still around, Roger Billings. And Roger actually was consulting with Ford Motor Corporation until a whole bunch more attention shifted to electric. However, why not look at having some type of hybrid between hydrogen and electric? You know, because if we're truly going to get off of fossil fuels, we have to have something to replace that charging capability. And trickle charge technology has actually been talked about since, you know, because we mentioned graphene. It was talked about even when that was discovered. That was one of the technologies they said near instant charging, and even, you know, being able to keep it going with a trickle charge from an impeller, from a solar panel on the vehicle, things like that. So we could possibly see that, I think, in the future. It's, you know, it's exciting on some levels, and, you know, and on other levels, there's all those people that love their gas cars.
I love my
just,
gas car.
I like the sound of that engine.
I like it when I hit that gas, it goes. I know electric off the line, they got some good torque, it's got good,
Of course.
but 400 or 500 miles later, I'm still going.
Well,
400 miles, 500 miles?
I can get in my truck,
Okay.
my Dodge Ram, which has got it's got a Hemi. It's got a Hemi. I get 520 miles to a tank. So
See, got like 100.
he's got a Hemi. He just doesn't realize that it shuts off half the cylinders.
oh no,
while it's
I do
cruising
know
down the
that.
road.
It goes into eco.
I got a Hemi
But
that's really a
still,
4-cylinder.
Okay, so if I had a race from
Yeah.
Tampa to say Chattanooga, guess who's going to win?
Well, yeah.
There you go. Because I can get there in one tank. Mr. Tesla, Mr. Electric Car's got to pull over halfway and charge for 4 hours.
Supercharger, maybe 15 minutes can get enough in there.
Get you extra 100 miles.
Yeah.
Look, if I had to drive locally, I've said this 1,000 times, if I did nothing but from here to my studio or from here to my house or here, you know, I'm good with an electric. I'll take an electric all day long. But I don't. And I pull trailers. So, and I pull
Yeah,
campers.
that's not,
Yeah, it's not going to work.
yeah.
As we found out from the young kid that went and tried to pick up a car, he's like,
I'm going to sue you guys for misrepresentation because I pulled a load and my battery juice died.
You know, anybody that sits there, that's why, you know, if I want to buy a truck like that and put a diesel generator in the back so it'll you know, keep better, that's great. I'm still burning fuel. I'm still putting it in the ozone.
Yeah, in some form.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so this next thing here, Adam, you put this in here. about the hurricane. Ian destroys their homes, and algorithm sends them money.
Yes.
What?
I want an algorithm to send me some money, too,
I
while
want
I'm
some
at it.
money.
So
How do I get money?
Well, this basically, it's a nonprofit company that is sending. Basically, it's using Google Maps and to see the homes that are destroyed,
Right.
And using satellite footage, and
Right.
then basically it uses Google because Google has all your information.
There you go.
Finds out who lives at that address,
Right.
what their phone number is, and then sends them a text message. Hey, here's $700. Want it? Free and clear. And that's how they're setting up the donations because, let's be realistic. The services are probably very scarce in the area. It's going to probably be very difficult for people to fill out applications and stuff like that. And they don't have the time and stuff. And look at how you can just use a natural disaster, wipes out most services and everything, but, technology can still help facilitate rebuilding it and people allowing them to, rebuild their lives and stuff. And
I would be so skeptical of somebody telling me, hey,
Well,
I've got money for you and just fill out this information. So I know. It's scary and it's really cool that they're doing something like this, but it's also really scary. How the heck did they know where I was at? They're using geolocating type things from our smartphones too.
Oh, of course.
You saw the movie or the documentary 2000 Mules, you know how that works.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, so,
That's using crime, the police, the FBI, they use that type of tech.
Oh, of course.
all the time.
I think, the problem with technology, it's got its goods and its bads.
They can be harnessed for good or evil, that's for sure.
The more good that we start doing with it, it becomes easier and easier for the bad guys to be out there and circumvent it. And it's just, it's sad. It's cool that it can be happening, and it's sad at the same time that, people can either fall victim to or have information and stuff taken and stolen.
Yeah.
And it's
you can almost be sure that there's going to be scams that come after this because they're going to try to get those that are trying to get.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they're already down there. They're arresting people left and right now. It's ridiculous. I just don't understand people that think they're going to be smart enough to go down there and scam people, and the cops not watching. Because now it's like they're big time watching for it.
Yeah.
They got extra security and all that kind of stuff. So, and that's another reason I won't go electric. Speaking of scams, because once we're all electric, if your social standing is not good, they'll turn your car off.
Well, there was
ESG, right? You're talking ESG.
there was an article in which somebody purchased a used Tesla, for instance, and was using it, and basically the battery is bad in the device, in the car, and they have to get the battery replaced, and they're not allowed to, basically Tesla turned off services to the vehicle till they replace the battery. The guy buys a pre-owned unit to have to dump $20,000-$30,000 into a battery, but can't use his vehicle because the battery's going bad.
Right.
And not because the vehicle can't be driven, just because they've turned off services to the vehicle until the battery gets corrected. So it's good.
Sorry, your car won't start because your battery's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though you're plugged in and trying to charge it.
It's like, I don't know. It's like, you have a small oil leak, and the dealership says, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't drive your vehicle until you get your oil leak fixed."
Right. Or your tires are low.
Oh yeah, your
Get
tires
new
low.
tires, and then we'll let you drive. No, thank you. I'm good. So anyway, but this next thing there, boss man, you did was actually I put this in. I think we kind of doubled up here. Is the
we did.
The Nvidia invents a new word to say it's pulling the malign 12 gigabit RTX 480.
Yeah, they pulled the 480, this particular model, because I guess this might is a lower model version. So how did they? I forgot how they announced. What they call that?
Hold on, I'll tell you.
The name that
Gizmodo
Unlaunching.
unlaunching.
Yeah, unlaunching.
Unlaunchificating or unleashing.
Did it ever hit the market?
No, they're basically taking pre-orders on these cards and stuff like that, and then they basically de-launched them from inventory. And because
Wouldn't it be like fraud, like the guy that was selling the electric truck?
yeah, Well, you know what's funny is it looks like the higher dollared model
Right.
is still being launched. So I think what they've done is they're like, you know what, that doesn't make sense. Let's launch the more expensive model first, get some sales on that, then launch the lower tier, and then continue with that momentum. But I did also read an article, and before we discuss this, there was another article in reference to the TI version. They were going to launch the overclocked version of this card and decided to pull it because it pulls too much power. Wow. What a coincidence. So we overclock it, and they're like, yes, we're sorry. A 1,000-watt power supply is not going to handle this card.
And
we're going to have
a
to
water cooling system inside.
By the way.
So if anybody's looking for that, and you know what's happening is with the chips, the chip market going on, and everything, all the competition trying to get some of that money from the government going on, and just trying to be the best. I think Nvidia jumped the gun and released this processor, this GPU a little sooner.
Right.
They're probably not really having the power draw. Probably is really there. It's probably also a heat problem. They overclocked it, and they're finding out that it's just not stable enough for the market, and that's why they're pulling it.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense.
right now, they're saying this card is going to smoke the new AMD one that's out, but that we'll see what happens.
After reading the article, I'm thinking to myself, first of all, the people that are buying these types of cards are not the people. They don't really want the cheaper version of this.
No.
You know what I'm saying? This is not for your average person to go out there and go, I'm just going to throw a RTX 480 in there just for ha-has. No, those people are budget minded. They're looking at the 1080, they're looking for the small, because they're not at that level.
They're trying to play Fortnite.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go. So the people, to me, that was just dumb. Why do you even try? Because, again, your average Joe is not going to walk into a computer store and go, I want an RTX 480.
Well, this right here, this particular article is the same reason why EVGA stepped away from Nvidia and decided to get out of the GPU market altogether, is because they're really money hungry. They're so money hungry that they take their OEM builders and basically put them on a back burner and release their signature series of cards to compete with their own vendors. The same thing Microsoft likes to do. They haven't learned by now that, if you're a software company, try not to be a hardware company, because your whole model was based on, building software and supplying it to your OEMs, who then, packaged it and put it out in their hardware. Now you turn around and started competing against them with your Surface and then, your Windows Phone that, burned up and again, I'll say it too, Google and Microsoft both do not have a good track record for making hardware that stays in the market and continues to be supported for a long period of time.
That's correct.
And that's scary, because, when you fall in love with something or you like something, maybe it starts working for a while, but you don't know how much longer it's going to be there. Windows Phone, when Windows Phone 8
I was a
coming
Windows
out.
Phone user.
Yeah, so was I.
Until they stopped allowing the ability to encrypt, which was going from 6 to 7.
Yeah.
And I had to jump ship at that moment. So
and
that's
that was
exactly what you're saying.
It's sad. It's sad, because it was I enjoyed the platform. And
I was on it from an initial launch till they decided to drop encryption.
Yep. That's the end of that. So here we go. It's another company trying to shoot themselves in the foot.
Well,
sure seems like it, doesn't it?
So what about this? I think you put this into the Intel Arc A750. It's going to be a limited edition, a beacon of hope for the PC gamers. Because this is a Microsoft thing, right?
Yeah,
Intel.
It's Intel.
Intel.
Yeah.
Intel's making their own graphics cards.
And they also put their graphics GPUs on motherboards and things like that. And for business applications, it's perfectly fine. So this is definitely for those that want a better graphic experience. If they're gamers or high-end workstation types, they're going to need this kind of power. So, and it comes at a much cheaper price point, like a third of the one we were looking at just a moment ago from Nvidia.
Right. The only thing that I'm going to say is if you're if you're in the gaming market and you're trying to look for a budget build, I
Probably
wouldn't,
not it,
don't
right?
do it right now, because a lot of times these people don't seem to understand that when the games are being built,
Right.
a lot of times they partner with large GPU manufacturers, and the largest one being Nvidia.
AMD.
Nvidia is usually the first one that everybody in the gaming industry, you know, as they're building their graphics
Right.
and writing their code for their lighting and different architecture, they always build it for the drivers for Nvidia first. And then, you know, everybody who has like an AMD graphics card, for instance, you know, will notice, you know, issues with the game, choppiness.
Right.
And then there'll be updates later on that fixes it. And I'm going to tell you that Intel is probably going to be the last guy down there to get
And
any
that's
kind of.
one of there's two flaws that were pointed out. One being exactly that they're probably not going to be compatible, especially with older games.
Yeah.
And they're limited capability on ray tracing, which is where the other, like Nvidia, is going to excel. So any gamers that, you know, have ray tracing sensitive or intensive type operations in their game are not going to be able to use this thing. So
Exactly. So yes, it's out there. It's going to be a lower cost point, but right now it might be good for some online games.
oh yeah, like Pac-Man and Space Invaders.
Or any browser-based games. I think it'll run good
That's what they said. You know, the pros are aggressive pricing, good performer at 1080p, quiet fans. That's their pros. The cons are older games can pose a problem. XeSS inconsistencies, and then underpowered for ray tracing.
Yeah.
So, you know,
We'll see where it goes. You know, they've always made a lot of APUs where the graphics engine was built into the CPU, and you know, they continued that for a while. Let's see what happens when they make their own GPUs and see if they can get that coding right and see where it
Intel's
goes.
just like you were saying with Microsoft and
Yeah.
Google, especially on these things that are outside their core competency, which is processors, and you can even say motherboards. And they've just dropped things like, and don't, you know, partners, they don't tell us a whole lot of the reason why. They just drop
Right.
it, and it's like, I was just getting some traction with that platform, and you just pull it? Like,
Yes,
no
yeah.
warning whatsoever. It's just gone, sorry, we're just
we're done.
Well, you know,
done.
I could say it could be a good thing too, because if they decide to pull the APU out and go ahead and just stick with, you know, CPU, GPU type architecture, then they can focus on security of their CPUs
Right,
too.
and allow the third parties back in like they used to play nicely with.
Right, and then maybe
Oh,
you
want
know, if they
everybody to
have.
play nice.
Well, yeah.
I see where you're going with all this stuff.
Well, it
you
used
want
to
us
be-
all, everybody wants to get along.
It used to be that each of the tech companies would rely on each other to provide each of those little pieces, and
And they would communicate.
yeah, and they would make the standards open and accessible so that those third parties could develop a rockin', you know, component that would just integrate nicely with it. So
Oh, this next one. Yeah.
So we have got more cybersecurity coming, but we're going. So this next one, the MediQuest Pro is cutting edge headset looking for an audience.
Oh,
Let me
my
tell you
gosh.
something. It's pricey as hell.
It
Holy
is.
crap!
But
Yeah,
did you read the technology
I did.
that's behind it? And
I
that's
did.
why it's expensive.
Yeah.
Okay? They put, if I'm
reading
not.
your reactions on your face and stuff, that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're talking. This things can, you know, read facial expression. It can.
How
look-
can
just,
it read facial? You're wearing.
It's got cameras on the inside
yeah,
of the goggles.
camera inside out. You know,
Yeah,
facing down.
it's like not just, they're everywhere in this thing. Pretty
and
cool.
and even the controllers themselves. The old Quest controllers were not only Bluetooth, but in order to track them in the real world, it used the front cameras. And say, for instance, I went outside, and if I got into a really bright light environment like the sun,
Yeah.
I would lose I lose control and tracking of the handsets. These ones have their own, I believe it's a Snapdragon processor
Yeah.
in each controller.
Yeah.
They have their own
It's what's
processor
And phones and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a powerful processor.
and a controller, John, and the controllers themselves have their own cameras in them.
Hi, how you doing? Selfie
So
mode.
the good thing, or what this is pointing to, is a bright future for this type of technology. It's expensive now, but as with everything, it comes down in price as there's more and more.
Truthfully, I see it's $1,500. But when you read some of the technology behind it and the
They'll finance
capabilities,
it too.
that, of course.
They're hot too.
they want you in
Yep.
the verse.
There are some cons. It only gets 2 to 3 hours of battery life. So
yeah.
that's one thing that will improve.
I don't know who can sit on these things for 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. I've done this.
I'm
and it
45
makes me
minutes
all,
and I'm
like,
ready to throw up.
I get all wonky.
I don't have too much issue with it. I did with the PlayStation VR, but the
Do you
regular
have the Quest 2s?
I have the Quest 2,
Oculus, yeah, the Oculus.
The Quest 2, I don't have any issues with, and I guess it really depends on the developer of the game. But for instance, so far on some of the worlds and stuff like that, and some other certain games, I don't really seem to have any issues.
And just think, this may be the future of our work environment too, right? You get
Yes,
stuff like
Microsoft
this.
is backing this.
Yeah,
Microsoft.
There's a lot of push for this type of thing, because you'll be in your environment at work just virtually.
We'll be able to do the show here in Meta, not be here, be located, be all sitting with each other and doing the show.
And look how thin those glasses are.
Yeah.
That was a huge.
That
a lot
is
lighter, a lot smaller.
I mean, that is amazing.
Yeah.
How just tiny this thing is.
Yeah.
And the battery's been placed towards the back, so it's taking the weight off the front, which makes it a little
Kind of a little more
unstable. Now
yeah.
it's more stable.
Yep.
And it looks kind of cool, just a little bit bigger than maybe your scuba
And not just that, but
mask or something. But
even the Quest 2 has the ability for an external battery pack.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could probably get a good 4 hours out of it by using an external.
No, at 30 minutes, 45 minutes in, I'm done. I can't
except for
last
John.
even-
John cannot go into the virtual world.
I get-
I've tried them, and I get a little like almost vertigo, I guess is what
Yes,
it is.
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's what I get,
It's
and I'm like,
weird.
okay, I'm good.
Maybe it's just because of.
I don't think I've put mine on. It is already probably. I
mean-
haven't put mine on in probably a year.
It's got,
Wow.
what,
6 months.
12 gigs of RAM in this thing? I mean,
So this is a lot better than the Google box. Remember the box that Google?
that was horrible.
that
was the worst
Hey,
thing.
I actually tried it. It
Oh.
worked, and my kids got they kind of got a kick out of it. But at least it was something to do. Made it, you could see how easy. You just put your phone inside there, and it split the. That was weird.
So we're going to jump, and I know Rob hates when I do this. We're going to jump to some of the stuff that you put in, John.
All right.
And where would you like to go first? You want to go to water plant? You want to go to consumer?
Well, I'd
Sentinel?
like to talk about, because this is Cybersecurity Awareness Month,
Yes,
I
it
would
is.
like to talk about, because this is a problem for everybody, how do you protect yourself? And we've got a resource available for you. I don't know if you can pull that up to see it or not.
I
but
do.
This
Look
is the
what-
outdated version. I still don't have it in print version yet. But I thought we could talk about at least 3 of these things. And if time
15
permits, we
ways
can
to
do more.
protect a business from cyber attack.
So, yeah, and I've got an extra copy here for you guys if you
Oh,
want to
I
see
got it
it.
on behind you.
Okay, all right, behind you, but you can't see it. So
No,
if
but
you'd
they
like
can
to
at home.
see it, I just thought we could focus in on a few of these, because these are all things that everybody can do something about, because cybersecurity, when it comes down to it, is everybody's responsibility.
Correct.
Whether you're talking about for your own personal computer and home or your business. And this is addressed to businesses, but almost all of these apply still.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's take 3 of them. Like, how do you deal with your passwords? We kind of touched on this a little bit last week.
right.
Password manager, you mentioned one Dashlane, and there's some other ones that are out there that are really good choices. Or you could, using that versus the little black book. And there's camps that fall on both sides of this, so it's one of those things where I truly think you could look at using either, as long as you have a system and you have a way to keep it secure.
Right.
So, as far as like password managers, if you want a low cost or free one, there's Bitwarden. I gave a few examples of those to you guys so you can look at them. And if you know one, I use one that's called Password Boss myself, and for my clients, I actually make that available to them. And the reason I chose that one is because it even does a dark web scan for you to give you an idea of where you might have some exposed data.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason passwords are so big and so
There
important
it is right there. We got it up. We got enough for everybody.
is primarily because almost all the breaches we hear about, they expose usernames and passwords. So an email address typically is a username and a password.
Okay.
So a password manager will randomly generate a password for you and keep it in that system, so that anytime you go to a website that requires it, you can immediately do that. So take a look at things like if you don't like Password Boss or Bitwarden. I think Bitwarden, since it's free, it's open source, it's really easy to use. That's the primary benefit I like of that one. But there's some other ones out there as well, like LastPass has been around forever. I started using LastPass probably, I don't know, 15 years ago or close to after they first came out, and I still use them. And I paid for it for many years until I just, switched to Password Boss, but I still use LastPass. So it's okay to have more than one as well. But then you've got that problem of keeping
Now
two
here we
separate
go again.
databases,
You're starting
right?
over again.
Right. But good thing is
See-
about a lot of these tools, it'll let you import from another tool.
Right.
So that's how I dealt with.
And don't forget to let everybody know that they'll have to remember the master password
Yes.
to get into these tools.
That is the key to these password managers, is having one master password that you have to remember. Now, there's even systems for this, right? I used to actually give out a little flyer, a password naming convention type of thing. And perhaps you're using a combination of words and special characters and numbers, or maybe you're using something like a special character or numbers to replace vowels, for instance. So you can use the @ symbol instead of an A. That's a common one, right? Or a 1 instead of an I, or a 0 instead of an O. So you could use something
Or
like
a
that.
5 instead of an S.
Right. So, and those are common. So just keep that in mind. That's common. So hackers probably know that too, and they're going to try little iterations of that. But if you're in the United States, the primary language here is in English. If you know another language, if you use that other language's words intermixed with some other things, or if you take two things and kind of merge them together, like maybe the year your first daughter was born and something that means something to you, and just alternate between those. Whatever your system is, as long as you know it and you use something like a little black book, you could put a little, everybody wants to put their, I don't know how many times you've found this, but I find it all the time, the password stuck right on the monitor.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Or
No,
you
it's
flip
on-
the keyboard
it's-
over and it's
Or
on the
as,
underside
or
of
as
the
in
keyboard.
Ready Player One, it was right there.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the guy, the what was that?
That's
That was Oceanographic, some big government
It's
agency.
taped to the laptop touchpad.
Yeah. Or it's somewhere in view, and of course, the one hack that happened was because the password was right on the screen behind the guy. That they took a
That's
picture of.
great.
So yeah, they zoomed in and they got in. So passwords, you can do a great deal of good for yourself by not using the same password on more than one website, because guess
Correct.
what? If you use it on more than one website and you get breached, all those websites that you have used that password on are
I'm
potentially
just
going
going
to
to
be
learn
breached.
Egyptian hieroglyphs.
That would work, right? Because as long as you know it and you can read it.
Just use emojis.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine?
Hey, if you do this, we're old. I just found that out this weekend.
All right.
Wow,
and
really?
we did, I don't know if we talked a whole lot about multi-factor authentication, but that's another one that could be very easily implemented. And what that means, two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, is where you're using a device like maybe your phone to receive a text message, and anything that's healthcare related or banking, financial related, you definitely want to have multi-factor on. As a matter of fact, I'd say put multi-factor on as many things as you can. Sometimes there's even apps. There's free apps you can get for your phone. Authy's a good one. Microsoft has one. They call it Microsoft Authenticator.
Yeah, authentic.
Yeah,
Google
or
has
there's
one.
Google
Authenticator.
Authenticator. There's several of them out there. Many of them allow you to use it for free. If you want something that's a little more advanced and capable, then you use something like Duo. Duo even has a freebie version for users of it. But if you want to manage it for your entire team, if you have for work, they have other.
That's what I was going to say, because, like some of the stuff that we use on the cafe side, all that stuff down there, we have Authenticator on. The problem is if we're not here, we're not there, and they're trying to get into something. Next thing you know, they're going, hey, text me can you let me know what the password is, or can you let me in, or blah, blah. And by the time I get it, it's too late.
Yeah.
And they're hung up, and they're trying to do something. And
Yeah,
it
see if you can
sucks for
create
those guys.
users, that have less security.
Well, you can,
capabilities.
but sometimes there's things that they have to do that
Yeah.
it's not, you have to have admin right too. So that's the biggest pain in the rear end.
Thanks, Clover.
No, I don't use Clover.
Now, another one, I'm surprised at the number of times I come across workstations without antivirus.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's a lot of things you can say about antivirus, but you got to have
Windows
antivirus,
7.
even if it's the Microsoft Defender or
Which
Windows Defender.
has come a long way.
It has.
It has come a long way.
And it's free. So,
free 99.
yeah, if you don't have anything else, use Windows Defender.
But when most business owners go out and buy that computer from Walmart, Best Buy, wherever, and they come with a free version of McAfee or whatever it is that's on the device, and they never activate it, and they let it run out,
Right.
Windows Defender stays turned off by default.
Yes.
Until you remove that old antivirus program.
Right.
And because you're not getting any definition updates or anything like that, you've just left yourself vulnerable. So take out the trial versions of software,
Yes.
please.
And you usually only get a 30-day trial of those things. So if you're not doing that, you don't have antivirus protection.
Try
Now,
535 days of unactivated.
yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my
And I've
God.
come across that, and they think that they're absolutely fine. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's one of those things, again, security is the responsibility of everybody. Now, one thing about antivirus, and this is where it can, I think, help to talk about it a little bit more. While Windows Defender is a good, I'd actually say of the free ones, it's probably one of your best options,
Yeah.
just because of what you said, Adam. And that is, even the federal government is using actually what's called Microsoft Defender, which is a far better security product, and it's in the Gartner Magic Quadrant up in the upper right, which is where you want to be if you're an advanced endpoint security solution. But there's a whole other things that go along with that, and
Right.
you don't just get that unless you pay for a subscription of Microsoft 365 that includes it, or you pay for a separate license to get that type of thing. But for freebies, just keep in mind, most free antiviruses have what's called a subscription, and they get definition updates.
Right.
Sometimes multiple times per day, because there's so many attacks that happen every single day. It's like somewhere between 30 and 40,000 now attacks or new variants of viruses and malware out there every single day being released on the general public. So your definitions have to be able to keep up with that. And most of these definitions are falling behind. So it's that
Yeah.
classic cat and mouse thing. So there's some other technologies that have been developed, and you've probably heard of these, like machine learning and even artificial intelligence. So I focused on two of these that I think that are best, and this is unfortunately not something you can get if you're a consumer for your home PC. So I commonly get asked, what do I recommend for an antivirus solution for home users? Well, you can get something from Sophos called Intercept X. And Intercept X, of all the different antiviruses out there, I think hits most of the different requirements, I would say, that you would want to have in an antivirus type of solution. It's more than just antivirus. It is anti-malware. It does internet protection and things like that. So Intercept X is a good option for you. Now, it says that that's for business, but you can get it on the consumer side as well, and I would recommend you look at that versus the home version of Sophos for antivirus. You could call this a complete internet security suite. However, that's still not what I recommend to my business clients, and Adam, you probably have different ones that you like as well. I chose something, because one of the things we have on here for a breach is a 0 day.
Yes.
The Zamba servers,
Zamba, right.
That was a 0 day. The program that I recommend is called Deep Instinct. And Deep Instinct has a 99.2% effectiveness rating from several different companies that check them out on this, of being able to stop 0 days. Because it uses artificial intelligence, it actually anticipates certain things, and it has what they call a brain, the deep brain that
Wow.
constantly is learning on this. That, coupled with a good security operations center, is what makes the difference in being able to actually truly prevent any type of malware or virus type of infection. So that's what I recommend. Number one is Deep Instinct with a good security operation team behind it, if we're talking about looking at for business. The second one I would say is going to be along the lines of SentinelOne. I really like their security operations center couplings with SentinelOne. There's several choices out there. If you have a MSP or IT service provider that's using one of those two solutions, you're in good hands. Now, does that mean that you're completely at risk with anything else? Well, no. The whole idea behind having a good advanced endpoint security solution is to limit your risk as much as possible. And in my opinion, those two on the business side and like Intercept X on the home side are your best options. And if you want a free one, then the Microsoft one, Windows Defender, is actually pretty good. There are some other ones out there. It's just I don't like recommending free because there's always, nothing's ever free.
No,
Nope.
it's never free. And then even especially like freeware, especially when the company's just getting started, it's free for a while. They're really
Right.
building up the product, and then all of a sudden, boom, they either sell out to a larger manufacturer, or larger company, and then next thing you know, you're paying through the nose because you've built your whole business or you built your whole, planning behind, on top of this either software solution or anything else like that. But I would also say too that in all the protection that we do put on our computers or our devices, the biggest security risk is the human factor.
Yes, that's right
And
there in the middle of the
that's-
blue, right?
yeah.
82% of all. And security awareness training is how you
Exactly.
get around that, right?
Yeah.
And that's also one of the ones I put on here. There's several websites that give you free resources so you can train, yourself, your family, or your business. And if you have people in your team, or if you're the owner of the business, there are free resources. Or you can team up with companies like Adam and me, where we provide that as a service. We make it easy. We'll send you things like a weekly training video with a quiz that makes sure you understand. But there's free resources. I provided links to those. I don't know if you can bring any of those up, but there's several that make it available to you, like the FTC has
Yes.
a website where they have videos, they have content that they're trying to do as much as they can to help with mitigating that, the problem exists between the keyboard and the monitor problem. 82% of all breaches have some human element involved because they've either been social engineered or...
Social engineered, phishing attacks on emails, web browser hijacks, and
mistakes.
advertisements, or for instance, somebody out there searching the web for something, and then they click on a fictitious web
Right.
advertisement.
They do a search for something and they just call that first number they see
Yeah.
on there, and it's not really the company.
The biggest ones I see, especially for home users, is the and I just don't understand this. And they'll get their browser will be hijacked, and it first forces full screen mode. It doesn't allow you to disable the browser. Well, I mean, we know how to do it.
Yes.
But the very first thing is, this is Microsoft.
Call this
calling
number.
call this number now. Don't turn off your computer. We need, and the very first thing is these people. You guys call the number. You let somebody in immediately. I don't care how good of antivirus you have. I don't care the last time you seen your MSP or your IT technician. We can't stop this from happening. You have to use some common sense at this point. Don't call the number.
Right.
Don't allow anybody into your machine yourself.
Yeah, Microsoft won't pop up a message saying, call us.
Microsoft is dealing with the whole world. They don't need to speak to just you because your one computer is doing something. Think of it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Just don't do it.
And it's scary, and a lot of times we'll even have blaring alarms at
Oh,
you,
yeah.
things like that, flashing red.
Turn off the computer.
Yeah.
Turn off the
So
computer.
I gave Rob, if Rob will pull it up, I put those links that you gave us.
Yeah, for training, and this is really, really helpful stuff. Oh, you have a little bit more there. Those 3 sites I listed for security awareness training, take advantage of that. That's going to make a huge difference. If you feel like you don't know enough, this is going to change that for you because there's little videos, there's tons of content there to make you more aware.
Another one is GCF Global. They have free technology training and stuff like that. You can.
Isn't that one of the ones we put on there?
Is that if that's on there?
Oh,
yeah.
GCA Toolkit it's called.
There's GCF Global.
Okay, GCF Global, sounds
Yeah,
good.
they're nonprofit.
I have
and they'll-
seen that one, and it is really good.
Yeah, they do have online safety training there. They have safety training for kids and then adults. And you can do different training sessions. And if you want to learn how to
There's more than this.
Oh, yeah.
I just grabbed 3 that I thought were really good. There's so much free training out there. Even being in the Tampa area, we have a great cybersecurity type of resource with the local college and everything. So one other thing I'd hit on here, I know we got just a little bit of time left. Backups.
Oh.
Yes.
We've preached that forever. You
Backup.
gotta back
Backup your
Let me ask this. On all of your backups, do you actually test your backup?
Correct.
Do you have a backup if you don't test it? And I would argue you don't, because how do you know?
When's the
Because
last time
we
you
do,
logged into your
because-
backup?
Because we pull assets off our backups.
Yeah, and the other thing is that if something were to happen like Ian, where it wipes out everything, and you only have a backup here in your home or in your business, do you have a backup if it gets destroyed?
You ready for this? Just as happening as we speak right now. Got to reload Windows. Do you want us to back up your data and bring it back to your computer after we're done? No, it's not a problem. I trust my OneDrive.
Nope.
Enjoy.
Nope.
Not a problem.
Nope.
So I did list one that's good for consumers and even small home office, SO, or they call them SOHOs. If you're a small business or a consumer, one of the ones that I think is pretty decent, because it even does a check for viruses, and they also sell an antivirus, but I'm not saying they're a great choice for antivirus, and that's Acronis. Acronis
yes.
is a good choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
They give you the ability to back up both on an external hard drive if you have one, or a NAS, or whatever, network attached storage is NAS, and plus you get one up in the cloud. So you gotta have both.
Just utilized Acronis software for a client that already has it just recently on a failed Windows 11 update that just happened.
Yeah.
Happened with a driver issue and a
And
constant
it's
reboot.
like, gosh, when are we going to get past those? Because that's happened so many times over the years with Microsoft updates.
We can,
Now,
only,
just-
we can only do hard drives.
Yeah.
We're-
So
our data's too big.
business is a whole other thing, and we don't have a whole lot of time to talk about that, but you need
No, we
business
have 20 seconds
continuity,
left. Yep.
disaster recovery, and that's where you really need a professional like Adam or myself or some other company
Don't
that can
call
help
me.
you with that.
No.
So
Hit it
we'll
with a
help you
stick,
with
that's
that
my
whole
thing.
disaster recovery thing. So.
All right, everybody, thank you for watching. We are Tech Shamans at area52.com. If you've got questions for these two guys, don't ask me. I don't know. We'll see everybody next week. Have a techie
See
week.
y'all.